hi again. In the second part of the third lesson, we'll talk about common objectives. So when we consider the business and their objectives, we think they all want the same. As a result, yes, they all want the same, but depending on the periods they are going through, the objectives might be different. There are many factors affecting these objectives, such as cultural factors, such as the company size or the sector. Whether the company operates in the public sector or private sector, we will have different kinds of objectives, common objectives. First of all, let's talk about profit maximization. We need to know what a profit is so that we can talk about maximizing this profit. We have the revenue and we have the costs. When you have your business, you get certain amount of money and you have your costs, you pay for some things. So revenue minus costs will give us the profit. Let's say you made 10 liras and you spent 3 liras. So your profit is 7 liras, net profit. So when we talk about profit maximization, we want to get more revenue as much as possible and we want to spend the least possible amount. Like we want to have our costs minimized. So this is going to give us profit maximization. Which companies do focus on profit maximization? Actually, big companies, large scale companies. What about profit satisficing? It's like survival. Some companies don't really want to get maximum amount of profit, but they want to survive only. If they get enough to survive, that's okay for them. So this is profit satisficing. You will say, yeah, are there some companies doing this? Yes. Most of small size or medium size companies do this. They focus on profit satisficing enough to survive. But when they become bigger, larger, they focus on profit maximization. Okay, what about growth? Besides growth, we have the increasing market share as well. The companies, like some companies do want to have, we need to consider them in the short term and long term. If the company wants to get as much as possible, as soon as possible, they may focus on profit maximization. But if the company wants to invest in the long term, they can focus on growth. Or increasing the market share. But that means in the short term, they will not make more profits. Like they will suffer a little bit for a short term, but in the long term, they will reap the benefits. Hopefully, if everything goes fine. So the objectives can be profit maximization, profit satisficing, growth, or increasing the market share. Becoming dominant in the market. All right, what kind of conflicts do we have? Conflicts between the corporate objectives. We have three major points, one of which we will discuss in lesson 4. It will be about stakeholder conflicts, and about stakeholders we will talk in lesson 4. Growth versus profit and short-term versus long-term. We actually mentioned this, but we will mention again. The company needs to decide if they want to benefit in the short term or long term. If they want to benefit in the long term, they can focus on increasing the market share, they can focus on growth, they can focus on maximizing profit in the long term. Because if you focus on growth, that means you are increasing your costs in the short term. Let's say you have one branch. You want to grow, you want to have 2 more branches or 3 more branches in different countries, or maybe in the same country but in different cities. Or if it's a big city, in different parts of the city. So in this case, you don't actually get a lot of profit in the short term. So you keep investing, you keep spending money. But in the long term, you will reap the benefits, reap the results. Hopefully. So you need to decide whether you want to see it in the short term or the long term, and you need to decide whether you want to have profit maximization or growth and increasing the market share. Okay, what kind of factors can affect the corporate objectives. As we said in the beginning of this video, there are many factors affecting. First of all, cultural factors can affect. Second, size and legal form of the organization of the company. Let's say if it is a small size or middle size company, in this case they will focus on profit maximization. Survival is enough. But if we have a big size or large scale company, in this case they will focus on profit maximization as much as possible. Like they will want to get as much money as possible. And the legal form of the organization. Let's say if we have partnership or sole traders, they will actually focus on profit satisficing, like enough is enough, survival is enough. But if we have limited companies, especially public limited companies, well, yes, then they will focus on maximum level of profit maximization, because they can attract the investors and they can get more money. Plus, if the organization, the company, the sector, in which sector we have this company, if the company is in the public sector, they may not focus on profit that much. They may focus on the quality of the job, quality of the good or service they're going to provide, more than the profit they're going to make. But if the company is in the private sector, well, yes, the first thing they're going to focus on will be the maximum amount of profit to make. If the company is well established, already settled, in this case they will focus on profit maximization, of course. If this is a newly started business, startup, this and that, again, in this case, survival will be enough. Like if they make enough money to survive, they will accept it. So that will be profit satisficing. To summarize again, that will depend on the size of the business, the cultural factors, company culture. That will depend on the sector, whether this is in the public sector or private sector, and that will depend on the company being well established or newly started. Well established companies, public limited companies, then private companies in the private sector will focus on profit maximization. Newly started businesses, startups, sole traders, partnerships, this type of businesses, and the public sector businesses will focus on profit satisficing, just making enough money to survive. Okay, for now we have covered the major parts. The objectives can change or not. Well, we can change our objectives. Like, let's say in the beginning you can focus on survival, but later on you can focus on profit maximization. Like from profit satisficing, you can move to profit satisfaction. From profit satisficing, you can move to profit maximization. It can depend again on these factors. Let's say you had partnership, but now you change the legal form of the organization and you change your objectives as well. Like from partnership, you move to public limited company, or you were in the, let's say, that was a small size company and now it's a big size company. So in this case, you can actually change your objectives. But when you change the objectives, you need to be very careful because there are many factors affecting. When we talk about change management, we will talk about these things in details. There are two ways you can actually choose. First one will be going slowly but surely, like when you apply changes gradually. It's more secure. The other one will be having the shock effect, when you revolutionize, when you change everything out of a sudden. It's harsh, but in some cases we do need that one as well. I think it's better if we talk about these things in change management in details. Okay, about ethical code and ethics. There are some questions. I really want to read these questions. They are nice. First of all, should a toy company advertise products to young children so that they pester their parents into buying them? There are some questions that we need to consider, and we need to know how the businesses are going to react, how they are going to make decisions, based on which codes, or based on which rules are they going to make decisions? Or the next question is, should a business continue to produce potentially dangerous goods as long as no one finds us out? Or if legal controls and inspections are weak in a country, is it acceptable to pay very low wages for long hours of work, as this policy will reduce the firm's costs? Or is it acceptable to close a factory to save costs and increase profits, even though many jobs will be lost and workers may find it hard to get other jobs? Or do we accept lower profits in short term by purchasing less polluting production equipment? Or should directors receive substantial pay rises and bonuses when other workers in the business might be being made redundant? There are really nice questions, and there are many more. So the things that actually can be legally done, or let's say legally they are not supported, but again, maybe during this period there can be some political confusion in the country, this and that, and the businesses can take advantage, like they have the opportunity, the chance to take advantage of this situation. In that case, should the businesses use this kind of opportunity or not? These things are available, possible, but are they ethical to do? In the past, ethical code was not that much important, but in today's world, and when I say today, I don't mean just this year today, I mean like during 10 years or 20 years, like last 2 decades, or maybe 3, and depending on the country. In developed countries, it might be even 3 decades. So now ethical code is way more important than before. The clients and consumers in general, do focus on the business ethics. Does this business really harm the employees, or does this business really harm the environment? Does this business really care about the society or not? So these points are the points of high significance. So when we have this kind of questions, let's say we have the chance to do it, but morally, ethically, it's not okay for the business to do it. Should we do it or not? So we need to go for the ethical code of conduct. Like we need to choose morally accepted way of behavior. But in some cases, businesses do choose to use this opportunity. It's not because that's really supported, but because they have to. Sometimes they really, especially in the field where they have cutthroat businesses, like cutthroat competition, they're competing so harshly. In that case, they will have to do this, but it's not really recommended. Okay, what is environmental audit? When we assess the activities or the impact of the business on the environment, and we see how much the business harms the environment. You can see the companies having green policies, or maybe organizing some seminars, trainings, or different campaigns to support the environment, especially the companies that actually harm the environment do this just to secure themselves. Petroleum companies and so on will be quite common actually. What is social audit? An independent report on impact a business has on society. Environmental audit will be about the environment, and social audit will be about the society. Okay. Because the harm or the benefit the company has on the society is of high significance these days. Again, when I say these days, I don't mean today, I mean the decade at least. Okay, for today we are done. See you.